US and Iran traded strikes in the Strait of Hormuz, threatening to unravel an already fragile truce. Well, President Donald Trump has insisted the ceasefire remains in effect. Well, the US military says American forces carried out strikes on Iranian military targets on Thursday after what it described as an attack on 3 US destroyers operating in the strait. Well, according to US Central Command, Iranian forces launched missiles, drones and small boats towards the vessels. CENTCOM said none of the destroyers were hit and it intercepted incoming threats before targeting Iranian military facilities responsible for the attack. Iran, however, has rejected the US account. Iran's Central Military Command accused Washington of violating the ceasefire first by attacking an oil tanker and another ship earlier in the day. Iranian officials said their forces responded immediately by targeting American military vessels. A spokesperson for Iran's armed forces also claimed that US strikes hit civilian areas. Well, US President Donald Trump addressed the confrontation on social media, saying US forces caused great damage to Iranian targets. Trump also warned that future responses would be harder and more violent if, and I'm quoting here, they don't get their deal signed first. Well, at the same time, the president maintained that a ceasefire agreement is still active. The renewed tensions come amid continuing disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil shipping routes. The International Maritime Organization says around 1,500 ships and 20,000 international crew members are currently stranded in the Gulf region because of the conflict. But President Trump briefly authorized a naval operation earlier this week aimed at reopening the strait to commercial shipping before suspending the effort.
Gotten a lot of people out of different countries, including China. People that were hostages or held. So we'll take a look at that, including Pastor Brunson, as you know, from, in that case, it was Turkey. So we've done a lot of that. I do a lot. And I don't pay $6 billion to get somebody out like Biden used to do and Obama. They give $6 billion to get some person out.
What's your reaction, sir, to the Court of International Trade's ruling against your 10% across the board tariffs?
Well, we were surprised. We had one very positive vote. We had two radical left judges that voted against it. So nothing surprises me with the courts. Nothing surprises me. So we always do it a different way. We get one ruling and we do it a different way. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars from tariffs, and we're taking it away from countries, frankly, that have ripped us off for years, and now they're not ripping us off anymore.
What happened with partnership, Mr. President? Why was that suspended? Administration officials were talking about this being the next phase of the war.
Really wonderful leadership at place, as you know, Pakistan has been fantastic, and their leaders have been fantastic. The Field Marshal and the Prime Minister, and they asked us not to do it. We'll go back to it if we have to. They asked us not to do it during the negotiation.
Are you considering maybe going back to that now that gas prices are?
It could. Well, no, gas prices have come down today. Have you looked? They've come down very substantially today. The gas prices. You know what's happened today? Gas prices are way down, and the stock market is way up today. So gas prices have come down, and I saw today that they broke negatively. In other words, to our positive position, they broke our way very substantially. And when the war is over, gas will fall down at levels that you've never seen before. You'll be down to where you were, maybe even lower. We had it down to, I was in Iowa, and we were at 85, or about 85, what did you say? Yeah, we broke it. Yeah, we broke it. We broke it. We had numbers that nobody's seen in a long time. So you had $2 a gallon. We were down, I think, to $1.85, $1.90 in Iowa and a lot of other places. Outside of California, where California charges such a high tax on the gasoline, when you take that tax off, but California has a tremendous, I don't know if anybody knows, California was the third largest area for oil, and you were telling me, and Chris was telling me before, we're talking about California oil. California is like an oil, it's rich with oil, but stupidly, 15, 16, 17 years ago, people stopped drilling. It was third to Texas and another state, probably Oklahoma. But when this is over, I think you're going to see oil prices drop down to the levels where they were and maybe lower. There's a lot of oil out there, and the stock market hit a new high. Nobody thought that was possible. Stock market today, for the 59th time since I'm president, hit a new high. And people that have 401ks, you guys have 401ks? Because you got to like me. Does everybody have a 401k? Because you got to like Trump if you do. The 401ks, right? Your 401ks are through the roof. All right, one or two more. I want to look at the surface because I like the surface better than I like.
Why haven't you endorsed either John Cornyn or Ken Paxton?
I'll make a decision. Yeah, I'll make a decision.
When will you make your decision?
Maybe relatively soon.
Would you consider
I like them
on
both.
oil exports?
I like them both.
So
Yeah.
would you consider export curbs on oil or jet fuel if supplies get tight?
I don't need them. We don't need them. And we have tremendous amounts of oil. We are not suffering oil. And again, ships are coming all the way where they used to go to Hormuz. They're coming all the way up. And we have hundreds of ships coming up to Texas, coming up to Louisiana, and coming to Alaska, filling up, and they're going back and making a lot of money.
With another project, you have repeatedly said that taxpayers would not pay for the ballroom at the White House. Why should taxpayers now be on the hook for $1 billion?
Well, they're not, because that's for many other projects. That's for projects having to do with safety in a certain section of the White House grounds. That's not all for the ballroom. And we're putting up $400 million to do the ballroom section of the ballroom. We are putting that up privately. I am doing it along with other patriots that love our country. But they want to do certain things militarily with respect to the ballroom, having nothing to do with us or having to do with the safety of the president. So having to do with a lot of things, but we are going to have a safe ballroom. It's under construction. It's ahead of schedule. It's right on budget. It would be $300 to $400 million that we're putting up, and a lot of that money will be going to safety also. But the House approved, or the Senate approved, I guess, or they're looking at approving. I don't know if it got approved yet, but they're talking about putting up a certain amount of money having to do with security at the White House and the East Wing. Yeah.
Will you commit to publicly releasing the amount of money that the private donors have?
Well, I have no problem with it. You're not supposed to, because it's done under a way where you don't have to do that. But I have no problem. They're unbelievable people. These are great patriots. They're putting up, it's the only place in the world you can give a $400 million ballroom. You put up the money, and they're unhappy with it. They think the taxpayers should pay for it. So this will be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world, and it'll be the safest ballroom by far anywhere in the world, and you won't have a fiasco like you did Saturday night 2 weeks ago.
Are you expecting to have this already jet by July 4th?
By July 4th, yeah, we think we're going to have it. Yeah, we do think we're going to have it. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. This way. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Well, that was US President Donald Trump talking to reporters and answering all the questions around the Strait of Hormuz, stock market and oil prices. Well, President Donald Trump did talk about oil prices and stock market. Well, stock market is getting to an all-time high is what he claims. And fuel supply, well, he talked about fuel supply, which has been a big topic in the Iran war. Well, Trump has said that oil prices will go significantly down after the Iran war is over, reiterating his stance of Iran wanting a deal with United States. Well, he claims that the Strait of Hormuz is open and ships are moving through the strait. Well, apart from all of this, he also talked about the state of US economy, saying that the US economy is in a good shape. And all of this was, talking about Iran war and how President Trump has still been reiterating his stance on Iran wanting a deal. Well, this was his main topic while he was talking to reporters. And apart from all of this, these issues from the Iran war, he also talked about taxpayers and ballroom construction. And well, he has given us a date of 4th of July when the ballroom will be ready. Well, this is what Trump has been talking about with the reporters today.